And get going. Hi, Louise. Nice to see you.
Hi,
How is it,
Edwina.
how is it in
You
your neck of
too.
the woods?
Oh, the weather is a bit overcast today, but I've been in kind of at the computer working,
Yeah.
um, and in a good flow.
Oh, yay. It's so exciting. I love to hear that. It's nice when you get in that good flow of getting things done. I
Tis-
had a bit of a good flow this morning, actually, before I went down to the kids' cross country, and then I came back and got back into it. It must be the day for it. It must be the energy, because I actually got a lot
Hello.
more done this morning in like an hour, and then again just before I jumped on here in an hour than what I feel like I've done in a long time. It's funny, isn't it? Oh, welcome, Trudy. Welcome, Daniela.
Hello.
Hi, how you all? How you going?
How
Love your
are
nice
you?
check dress, Trudy. A gingham, lovely. Love a bit of gingham.
It's
Oh,
quite warm. I'm looking at you and I'm going, Edwina, aren't you hot?
yeah,
It's
it is
quite
warm
warm
here, but for some
today.
reason I had the front door open and I get that real ocean breeze through the front door,
Oh,
like straight through the house. It's lovely, but it gets
it's
cool, but
great.
it does make the house a little bit cool. Sometimes it's warm, and if you open everything up, it warms the house. But today it was cool. I just shut the front door and put my little wrap on. Um, this is the famous wrap from India. We all ended up, one of the ladies bought it. And then we are all like, where did you get that? She said, oh, back up at that stall there. So off we traipsed all the way up there to get this shawl. So I've got one, Katie's got one, about three of the other women that were on the trip have all got one in all different, actually, no more, all different colors. So yeah, it always reminds me of that day. I love it. Love bringing that energy with, with nice little things like that. Brings all those beautiful memories back. All right, well, let's get started with just a bit of grounding. So we're just going to close down our eyes. It's a beautiful Friday today. I was saying earlier to Julia that it's a bit of a day off for me today, which I love. I keep it free from too much work at the end of the week to ease into having a nice little bit of time to myself, which is lovely for especially us forest dwelling women, loving that solitude. And it's lovely to be joining and spending it with you. So just as you're feeling your sit bones beneath your seat, on your seat, I should say, your feet on the ground, firmly earthed onto the ground, just start to focus on your breath. Notice how it gently comes in through your nose, feeling the coolness of it coming in as it's leaving your body, feeling it a little bit warmer. With every breath in, you're bringing beautiful, fresh energy into your cells. If you feel like you need to take a nice deep breath, take one now. Relax the shoulders and then let it all go out through the mouth. Just focusing on our breath, feeling the body relax, coming into this moment, knowing there's nowhere else that you need to be. Just noticing the energy that's coming into your body all around, reaching your fingertips and your toes. With every breath, just feeling a little bit more relaxed and sinking into your chair a little bit more. And then when you're ready, just start to notice the sounds around you. Birds chirping, dog barking. Just coming back when you're ready, opening your eyes. Welcome. Okay, so today we have a lot of ground to cover, which I'm really excited about because I get quite excited about nutrition and different things. So I've got a few tips, and I'm excited to share these because I know we've talked about, what perimenopause is and some of the symptoms and red flags and some beautiful practices that we learnt yesterday and we experienced yesterday with, the Nadi Shodhana, the Beautiful Blessings Way. And now, once we get the beautiful sort of we can sort of learn a little bit about that and get that right. We can then start to look at our nutrition and the things that we're consuming. And then once that's kind of got a good base and we feel really happy with that, then we can start to look at, okay, what else might I be able to bring in to supplement or to guide my body to better health. And number one, we talked a little bit about yesterday was that routine is key. Ayurveda loves routine. We as humans love routine. And I remember when I had little babies, and that became really apparent to me how our days were just sort of ruled by their routines. And they were so happy when they knew what was coming on and they knew what was next. And if we kind of went a little bit off, off the plan and off the routine, they got a little bit vata, they sort of got a little bit, wobbly on their feet. It was about, whoa, what's going on? And I guess we can liken our body to children and how they get that sort of feeling when their routine sort of gets too far off track. And I'm not saying you have to be rigid and follow certain rigid rules, but a general flow of your days and weeks can really help. And I even take this into my work life as well as my home. And I have certain days where I, create content for my social media, and I might write an email or, that sort of thing. So there's a bit of a flow to my work day and my work weeks as well as my life. And they all kind of come together. And look, we're all working, we're all, doing things. We've all got certain things. So being a little bit more intentional with the time that we rise, being Ayurveda loves us to be rising with the sun or just before the sun. And then what's happening as we rise, our body's starting to wake up and it wants to remove all the excess junk that's been building up overnight. So that's when we can start our dinacharya routines of scraping the tongue, having our warm water, which is really great because everything starts and begins with our digestive system. And when we first wake up with the sun, our digestive system is getting ready to fire. And what we call in Ayurveda we call it digestive fire. And that's what Pitta is in charge of, is like moving things and digesting things through our body. So starting our day first up with a heavy, with a heavy meal, or a really rigorous workout coming into perimenopause is going to be a bit of a shock to the system. So we're better off to sort of ease our way into it, waking up with the sun, having some warm water with maybe some ginger or cinnamon, then doing our meditation practice, or whether that's just sitting quietly and sipping our warm water. So that beautiful sadhana practice that we talked about yesterday. And then that Ayurveda likes us to eat between, 7:30 and 8:30 would be the latest. And it likes us to have then through the day, not to eat 4 to 6 hours between meals. And then, so you sort of time, I guess you can think about your daily routine and time it to work in with what else is happening in your home and your family life and your work. So you can have that little bit of a break in between when you eat. And that's really going to serve your digestive system and that digestive fire to really function and actually absorb everything that you need from your food and get it all to the right places of the body, and then, get rid of what it doesn't need. So it's really important that we're being gentle with our digestive system. It's all about AMA. It's all about the amarin, getting rid of the amarin in the morning, which is the toxins, and the agni, sorry, is the word I was actually thinking of. It's all about the agni, the digestive fire. So then when we rise, we have our breakfast, and I'm going to share with you a beautiful recipe for breakfast that I've been having, that I've been loving, is what we call prana porridge. So it's a beautiful porridge, and it's really easy because we've all got access to oats, organic, beautiful organic oats. And this is, I can't take full credit for it, but this is from a Halipuli, from the Halipuli, which is Myra. She's got an incredible ayurvedic business where she takes people through different programs and whatnot. So I've done some work with them, I've done some study, and I've done some my own inner healing with Halipuli as well. So I've got into the habit of having porridge for breakfast now. We sort of grind the oats. Rather than getting quick oats, it's best to get oats that haven't been processed yet, because Ayurveda loves everything in its most natural form as possible. And we get the oats. I personally don't do it, but if you have a really poor digestive system that you're showing, different signs and symptoms, like you've got slight diarrhea, or you're constipated, some of those signs that your body and your digestive system's not quite working, this is a really great idea. You can actually grind the, or blitz, if you've got a Thermomix or a food processor, just give the oats a quick blitz and it breaks them down a little bit. And then what you can do is, in a saucepan, warm some ghee. Now, talking about ghee is an ojas building food. It's fat, it's clarified butter, and it is really great for our joints, for our skin, for our digestive system. It's like liquid gold in Ayurveda. Who here has heard of ghee? Yeah, of course, Louise. Yeah, everyone knows ghee. Do you all use ghee in your diet? No? Yes, not really? Yeah. So ghee is...
I have to go. I can only listen.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem.
I'm just going to listen. Sorry. I have to do something, but I'll keep listening.
Family
Thank
things
you.
happening. Yeah, that's okay.
Great. Thanks.
So ghee is like liquid gold. So it really helps to move things through our body. It helps to our digestion, as I was saying, at joints, skin, all those things. And they say that we should be having at least a tablespoon a day in our meals of ghee. So it's quite a lot more than what I thought originally before I started studying Ayurveda. It's quite a lot more. So especially for us in perimenopause, as we talked in the last couple of days about our juiciness drying up, the ghee is going to really help add that. And it's actually going to help our body to digest things better. So you might think, oh, I'm putting all this fat on, but it's a good fat and it's a really good thing for us to be adding to our diet. With the ghee as well, I always have a little bit left on the spoon, and I grab it and I literally rub it into my hands and up my arms and all over. I really love it. And I put it in with my cuticles. It's really beautiful. And Louise would know this, that, like in some of the texts, they actually do the Abhyanga massage with ghee. There's actually a ghee detox where you literally, I was with in India, and my yoga teacher there was actually on a ghee cleanse. So all he was having was ghee all day for 3 days. It was incredible. And he just was like, he was loving life. It was awesome. So it was really, I was doing a juice cleanse there. He was doing ghee and teaching it. So it was really interesting. So there's a lot to do about ghee. And that is actually a whole nother session. So maybe that's another workshop that I can do down the track. But ghee is absolutely divine. So adding a little bit of ghee, let's get back to the porridge, is going to really help bind the spices and help the spices, because we're going to add some spices to our porridge. Now, a really beautiful spice is cinnamon, and we all love cinnamon. It gives us sweetness, and it's a very good and powerful spice to help balance our blood sugar levels. So definitely starting with some ghee and cinnamon in the morning is going to help your energy levels throughout the day. Okay. We've also got, so you pop that in a saucepan with a bit of ghee, usually about a teaspoon, like a generous teaspoon, and then warm the cinnamon. And then you can always you could add a little bit of nutmeg. You can add a little bit of fennel seeds. So anything that's got a little bit of sweetness is going to be really nice in your porridge. And this is all going to aid your digestive system. and aid you absorbing the nutrients as well as the blood sugar levels, which is really cool. And then once we do that, we can pop our oats in and stir them around so they kind of get coated with the ghee and the spice mix, and that really helps to sort of infuse and work all symbiote, you know, like just synthesis of the foods and the spices together. And then you can add, which is really nice, you can add a couple of different things is what I've been doing. Almonds. Almonds are another ojas building food in Ayurveda, another one that's really good for bringing back that vitality and that beautiful essence of femininity. So dates are another one. So I chop some dates up and pop it in the porridge, and that's just delicious because it adds, again, another sweetness. And dates are great for all the doshas and all the things. And as well, you need to make sure that you're cooking them in the porridge rehydrates them a little bit so they're not too dry and vata, you know, imbalancing, because dried fruit and nuts and things can have the opposite effect if we don't moisten them. So we don't rehydrate them a little bit. And with the almonds, if you've got really poor digestion, it's recommended that you sort of hull the almonds and get the brown off them. You can activate them as well, Trudy. Yep. You can soak them in some water to activate the almonds before you use them and eat them. But because you're actually, having said that, because you're actually cooking it in the porridge with water, they're getting quite fat in there. Like mine are quite fat and nice, and it kind of activates them, which is really lovely. So dates and almonds, you could throw some linseeds in there as well, or some linseed meal if you've got really poor digestion, and that's really lovely. So you can sort of smash that up a little bit or blitz it with your oats in the food processor or Thermomix. So that's the paranam porridge, and then you cook that, with water, with beautiful filtered water. Always try and use organic if you can, because we want to be eliminating as many toxins, because it's what clogs up our system. So cook that with lots of water and then pour it into a bowl. You can take some milk with it as well. And the best milk that you can have is raw cow's milk, you know, according to the text of Ayurveda. But look, we can't get that. But I use unhomogenized milk. That's what my family drink. We've got a brand up here called the Hunter Bell, which is from the Hunter Valley, like a really nice, close, local. So I would recommend that you try and source a good local dairy and use unhomogenized milk. So it's still got the cream on top. It's full fat, still creamy. It's like we used to get milk in the olden days. Like I remember as a kid in the old glass bottles, and you pick off the silver lid and glomp. It was my brother's life fought over that cream on the top. So that's the milk. You can use almond milk or coconut milk. I would probably suggest to sort of err on the side of coconut milk, like a really good 100% coconut milk, because you've got to be careful with a lot of these plant-based milks. I'm not a huge fan of the plant-based milk because they add so much to them. They add stuff that you don't even know. So I always try and because my little boy does like oat milk in his smoothies and things, because milk can be a little bit upsetting for some people in the tummy. And I always try and get the one that's only literally got like a little bit of mineral salt added to it and water. Okay, and I can't remember the brand, but I can share the brand with you if you wanted to know. I think it's Pure Harvest, or there's one of those brands that's organic, and it's got literally all it is either almonds and salt and water, or oats and salt and water. So yeah, that's what you want to be looking for. Don't get the even the cocoa quench and all of that. You know what, for coconut milk, I just use the tinned stuff if I have to use the coconut milk, because it's generally just 100% coconut milk. It's a bit thicker and a bit heavier, and you can add some filtered water to it to water it down, which is all they're doing when you're buying it in those 1 litre Brita packs, because they just are pretty much just watering it down and then adding stuff in it. So it froths better for coffee, and it, you know, it's more palatable. And, you know, the food industry is always making things more palatable, adding salt, adding sugar, adding flavorings, you know, just so we think. And then I'm going to go on a tangent, but we get greenwashed into thinking that what we're eating is really good. So for years, I went through all of that because I had a lot of problems with a pitta imbalance, with eczema and psoriasis and lots of skin conditions. And I found a lot of that. And that's when I sort of started on that journey my holistic sort of health. So yeah, so that's that. And then you can eat that, let it cool down a little bit, the porridge. You don't want to eat it hot because you don't want to shock, like it's going to be really hot and shock. So just let it cool down in the bowl for a little bit and then sit mindfully and eat it. And what that's going to do is really help to build your ojas in the morning first up. It's going to help balance your blood sugar levels. And I literally am not even hungry until 12 o'clock. And Ayurveda doesn't like snacking in between meals because it just, you know, puts our systems out of whack. So that's a really good, beautiful breakfast. So the let's say something. So between breakfast and lunch, it's nice to have some and try not to look at the phone when you were eating. Absolutely, Louise. That's really hard. It's so hard. It is really hard. I'm constantly at my kids, turn the iPad off, just eat, just focus, look out the window, look at the trees, look at the birds, look at the dog, whatever, but just get off the iPad because it really does affect the way that we digest our food. Absolutely. And then lunchtime, they say Ayurveda, so at lunchtime when the sun is the highest, so between 12 and 1 is when our Agni is firing, when it's on fire and burning the hottest. Okay, so you really want to be having your main meal of the day. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, for example, those 3 a.m. wake ups, 4 a.m. wake ups are really going to be affected if you have a really big, heavy meal in the evenings. And the later you eat, the worse it's going to be. So the last 2 nights I've woken up at 3 a.m. because I've had my main meal in the evening because I just have been busy and didn't have time to cook up my lentils and all the things that I've been having normally. And then I just ate dinner with the family, which I eat dinner with the family every night, but I don't tend to eat as much as them and I have my meal. But I've woken up the last couple of mornings and it's because of my digestion. I know that it's because I've had too much in the evening and it's really playing havoc. So try and have, if you can, it's really not convenient in modern life. If you work and you work outside of the home, you can actually cook and take a thermos, I find, to work. Like I often send my husband with a thermos. And then sometimes if I've, you know, in the morning, okay, this is something that they talk about in that book, Atomic Habits, is like habit stacking. So you're already in the kitchen in the morning, you're getting breakfast for everybody, you're having breakfast for yourself. What you could be doing is you could actually throw a slow cooker on and then you've got a slow cooker or something ready for dinner or lunch, your sort of main meal. If you've got a pressure cooker, that is my best friend. I love my pressure cooker. I cook up lentils most days, like a kitchery or something most days in that at the moment. And I'm loving it because I can chuck it all in and then it's just done in 10 minutes, literally. So it's really great. You can warm up your spices and your ghee, and then you can put your lentils in, your rice in, and then bam, you've made your lunch. Lid goes on, and then I usually just steam up some greens or broccoli or something like that to go with it. And it's done. I mean, you could even throw it all in together as well. So an Instant Pot, I bought it at Costco last year and it's honestly been life-changing for me, and it's electric pressure cooker. So you're having your lunch at that sort of time in the day and then a lighter meal in the evening. And if you can go for like a little walk, or even if you just go out, do a bit of gardening, like pull some weeds in the garden or walk around the house and fold a load of washing or something after you eat, can really help aid the digestive system as well. So rather than going back, and which is I have a habit of doing, is coming straight back to my desk. I've been really consciously and intentionally trying to go, okay, no, I'll go and, you know, do a load of washing. I'll go and fold that washing, or I'll go out in the garden and do something, and then come back to my desk just to have that little buffer in between to get the digestion pumping. And then an evening meal, like I will have pretty much what we all eat as a family, but I'm just halving what I would normally eat. Okay, like what I used to eat, like I'll halve it. And I've noticed a massive difference in my energy levels, my sleep, and everything. So looking at getting that routine right is really important. And then in the evening, you can have an early-ish dinner, you know, and especially now that it's getting dark, around 6 p.m. is ideal. And then at around 8 p.m., 8:30, you can have a beautiful nut milk latte or a coconut milk latte of ginger and cinnamon or ginger and turmeric or something like that to aid that digestion and then lull you into sleep. Lavender is another beautiful thing that you can add. You can actually add lavender essential oil, the doTERRA lavender essential oil, to a beautiful almond milk or something latte in the evening, and that's going to help with your sleep as well as your digestion. So cinnamon and lavender is delicious together. And I know a lot of you have got the doTERRA oils, and the ones that are pretty much, if you can eat it as a whole normal plant, you can use the essential oil. So I recommend that if you are going to, and here's my lavender here. I love lavender. It's in my diffuser with peppermint at the moment. What you can do is I would recommend getting a toothpick if you're going to use them as food flavoring, because they're really potent. And just stick a toothpick, you know, the little hole in the top, it's got a little hole. Stick a toothpick in there, tip it upside down. The toothpick will get the essential oil on it, and then just whiz that through your hot milk, your warm milk, and it will flavor it beautifully. And it's really lovely. It's like, I call it moon milk, my lavender moon milk at night. It's really sweet. It's really lovely. And and lavender's got a sweetness to it as well. And because it's a flower, it's beautiful for our womb and our femininity. So it's a really lovely one for women as well. Even some rose petals. You can get beautiful edible rose petals. I do a rose and cardamom tea sometimes in the evening, and I'm going to share these recipes with you in the notes for today's session as well. I do a rose and cardamom with, you can either use ground cardamom or you can use a drop of doTERRA cardamom essential oil. And that's really lovely. What other ones do I like to have? A chai. So in the winter months when if I'm feeling really cold and I'm feeling like really vata, chai is really grounding. I drink this brand, which is Orchard Street. This is the Shatavari, which is a herb, but I've got the chai as well, and that's really lovely. And it's got no caffeine in it. So you want to be limiting caffeine going to bed. You've got limiting alcohol as well, because that really causes hormonal imbalances at night and that waking up. So I love a glass of wine, and I always have been a drinker, but I've really eased back. That was one of my red flags about perimenopause, is I'd have a glass of wine and I felt like I'd drunk a bottle of wine. Like it just went, all of a sudden, it was like overnight, I was like, far out, I can't even have a glass of wine. What's wrong with me? And it was just like, and then I was waking up, and this is when I talked to my friend who is in postmenopause now. So she's a bit older than me. And she was here one day. This is when it all started to fall into, I started to realize everything was changing, because I don't know, I think we just think we're going to keep living the way we are as women. But I said to her, oh, you know, I'm waking up at like 3 and 4 a.m. with like heart palpitations. And she's like, and then I was saying a couple of others, she's like, oh, she said, you're in perimenopause. You're on your way to menopause, love. And I was like, what? And then she's like, you don't need to worry. And then I was like, oh, thank you. Okay. So then we sort of went down the rabbit hole, and that's when I started to have a look at it and really dive into it, and did my, all my research and stuff. So that was one of the things. So alcohol has pretty much gone from my life. I still like to drink I still have my coffee. We're about to do a cleanse in the Marigold membership with Katie, my Ayurveda teacher, and we're going to do a Khichdi cleanse, and I'm going to give up my coffee for a week when we do that cleanse, which will be fun. But yeah, so that is going to really help. So now other foods that are really going to help to build ojas. I've got a whole list here for you. And I will put these in the notes so you don't have to worry about writing them all down. But we talked about ghee. We talked about organic, non-homogenized cow's milk. The same with yogurt. But thinking about yogurt, like your dairy, you really don't want to be having it with a lot of other things. You want to keep it on its own with no fruit. Mixing the dairy and the fruit, because what can happen in the digestive system is it can kind of ferment a little bit. But a lovely, just a nice natural yogurt. Now, in general, Ayurveda doesn't have meat, but it does suggest for women in menopause and perimenopause that bone broths, or what do they call it in the text? They call it meat soup, or bone soup or something like that in the original text. I saw that in one of my, I learned that in one of my studies, but it's because it's got a high collagen and it's a high gelatinous makeup. So if you are a meat eater and you can eat bone broths and things, then you could add some of that, and it's going to add that extra bit of protein, the collagen, because what we want to be looking for as well is things that are foods that are high in minerals and that are gelatinous and jelly, if that makes sense. So we can get that in the plant world as well, but that's a little bit about the bone broth. Collagen is another one. And there's been, you know, like the last couple of years, collagen has exploded on the market. There's like 1,000,001 collagen products. And I'm not a collagen expert, but I do know that the Meta Power that we sell at doTERRA is incredible. I've been using it and I do notice a big difference. It's got to be a certain type of collagen, which is what doTERRA is. So there is collagen, and then it's like everything. There's oils, and then there's oils, and then there's this, and then there's that. So it really does make a difference. So I'm not an expert on that, but having a look at how you could take some collagen. You know, you can add collagen to a lot of things, but you do have to be careful that sometimes heat and things like caffeine and sugar, if you're mixing that with the collagen, can actually kill the benefits of it. It can kind of kill it off. So the key with OJIS as well is that we're looking for foods that have got like a high life force in them, so as natural as possible without being raw. We don't want to be adding any raw foods into our diets as well, because that's vata inducing. Okay, and it's really hard for us to digest raw carrots, raw this, raw that. That's why women that, you know, I've spoken to someone who was like, you know, but I just had a tuna salad for lunch and I'm still putting on weight and I still feel tired and all these things. It's because our digestive system isn't working on that. It's just not happy with that. When we're younger, it works because our body's got a lot more digestive fire because we're younger. And it can break it down. Like I know my kids will smash a carrot or two for afternoon tea and it's fine for them, but for us, it's a little bit harder. Foods that are warm and cooked are really grounding. We talked about dates and nuts and also seeds. So thinking about different seeds, they're oily, they're grounding, they're high in protein, which is what we really need too. Avocados are awesome. So an avocado with your meal is really good. Again, it's those good fats. They're slippery, they're juicy. So it's the rule in Ayurveda, which is, you know, likes encourages like, you know, it's just bringing that into our diet to sort of bring more of that into our body. Most vegetables, you know, are totally fine. The nightshades can be a little bit inflammatory and not too great. Squash is really good. Root vegetables are ideal. So sweet potatoes, parsnips, turnips, really great for balancing vata and keeping us grounded and warm and lovely. Mung beans are probably the best lentil type thing that you'll be able to take at this time. They're the most easily to digest and really high nutritional value. The rice and the bean, and I'll give you a beautiful khichdi recipe in the notes today as well. Khichdi is what I pretty much eat most days, different varieties with different vegetables and different things. And that is like makes a complete protein. When you combine the mung beans and the rice together, you could live off it. You could literally live off lentils and rice because it's really good for you. Apples are really great, and peaches, grapes, and raisins. So all beautiful OJIS building fruits to add into your diet, but having them on their own and warm and cooked. So another breakfast that's recommended in Ayurveda, especially for poor, sluggish digestive systems, is like a beautiful bowl of stewed fruit. So you would pop some apples, some peaches, and maybe some dates or something, and just warm them gently with a little bit of water and stew them a little bit. And you can have some different spices. So the spices that you're putting in the porridge. So yeah, that's a really lovely, especially if you're feeling like the last couple of days, I've eaten big meals in the evening, so I've felt the effects in the morning. So maybe a lighter version of, you know, rather than having porridge, have fruit. So just listening, you know, really tuning in and listening to what your body's telling you and how you're feeling after you eat something. Like I knew as soon as I ate my dinner last night, I made a beautiful stew, like with beans and vegetables and some meat for the boys. And I made the beautiful, like the drop dumplings in there. Did you, mums used to make that, like the dumplings in the top of the stew? Literally just flour, water, and salt and milk and butter, you know, all the good things. And I was just like, oh, I just feel like making, because Ayurveda does talk about this as well. It's like, it's not necessarily sometimes, you know, like if what you eat, it can be how you eat it. And if it comes from your culture, and I know Katie talks about this a lot, and she's been taught from her Ayurveda teacher, my Tawari, talks a lot about this. It's like foods from your own cultural background can be really comforting, especially to be grounding Vata. You know, it's comforting, it's grounding, it's really nice. So I cooked that last night. I just had a vibe. I just thought, I'm going to cook this. And it was yummy. But I knew as soon as I did, I'd eaten too much because I had that second dumpling. And I was like, I shouldn't have had the second dumpling because it was too good. And then I felt it this morning. So I was a bit sluggish this morning. But the beautiful thing is you can remedy it. You know, food is the medicine, and you can remedy it with your routines, with your food. And then by the end of the day, you can feel much better rather than wallowing in it and then doing even worse and eating takeaway or whatever. We can make some really beautiful decisions that actually give us vitality rather than taking our energy away. And that's what Ojas is all about. So high mineral foods and really gelatinous foods that aren't meat and aren't bone broths are seaweed. So, you know, I can't remember what it's called, but seaweed is really great for this. Lots of minerals and nutrients, and it's got a jelly coating. So again, it's going to be beautifully nurturing for the digestive system, and it's going to take that gelatinous bone building and muscle building proteins and things as well to the body, which is really cool. Chia seeds, you know, they've got the jelly coating. Something you could do with chia seeds is you can add some to your porridge. You can sprinkle chia seeds on anything really, and they add a nice crunch. But if you can soak them a little bit, you can even make, you know, how we make bubble tea, you know, they make all that bubble tea from the supermarket. I mean, we love a good bubble tea, the boys and I. My husband thinks it's gross that we're sucking up these slimy little balls. He's like, what do you want those slimy little balls for? So funny. I'm like, because they're sweet and they're yummy. So bubble tea is usually like a highly sugary potion that you buy at this shopping centre with the little balls in it that are made out of semolina or something like that. And so you can actually make your own bubble tea at home with chia seeds and get that. And they're not going to be as big, but you can still make like a beautiful tea, like a chai or something, and then add some bubble seeds, little chia seeds to it, and have it like that little bubble. Iodine, yes, Louise, yeah. So that's another one. Flax. So your linseeds, I mentioned that for the prana porridge, they're really great. And if you can cook them again with a bit of, soak them a bit. Kombu, which is a seaweed as well. Adding a little bit of kombu to your meals can really help in kitchery particular. And that's especially going to aid you if you've got a really, if your digestion is really sluggish. Adding lean protein to your meals. So whether you're a meat eater, like that's quite, your lean meats, or if you're not a meat eater, definitely your lentils, your beans, and those sorts of things. Rinsing your beans and rinsing your rice is really important. White rice is better to digest and easier to digest than brown rice. So basmati rice is great. So that's a rice. We can manage the excess bitter as well, like that we're tasting and feeling. So we can have that with like bitter greens, like like all those bitter, I can't think, like the mustard greens and things like that. You can start to add those again, lightly cook them in a little bit of ghee. Adding purple foods, blue foods, red foods, and like all the berries. All of those foods are going to really help to manage that excess bitter as well. Talked about spices, cooking with salt. So rather than sprinkling salt on top of your food, cook your meals with the salt, because it really helps to keep the salt it's just better for our digestion and better for our body. Adding salt afterwards can be quite heating and quite pitta inducing. So if we're cooking it, it's better for us and it's more cooling. So we can also balance pitta with some cooling tonic. So aloe vera, I want to say olive, but aloe vera juice is really cooling and beautiful. Coconut water, lovely and hydrating as well. Aloe vera juice is great because if you've got some gut health issues, it's going to really help to soothe the gut health issues. If you experience diverticulitis and those sorts of things, it can be great for that as well, the aloe vera. Because you remember, you look at aloe vera, it's got jelly in it. It's like sort of cloudy and jelly. So that's the sort of action that we want happening in our body. Pomegranate juice is also a wonderful tonic for women as well. Really great for our womb and our uterine, and it's really beautiful for that too. So now once we've laid all those beautiful foundations with our practices, our diet, our movement, we can then start to think if we're still experiencing, you know, red flags. Okay, so if we're coming back and we're still experiencing those red flags, gosh, look at the time. I could talk about food all day. Anyway, I love it. Katie said to me, I sent her something. She's like, you can tell that you're really passionate about nutrition. I was like, yeah, sometimes I wish I'd listened to myself. But anyway, with the caffeine and things like that. But anyway, so supplements. So if you're still feeling after you get some beautiful practices and your diet, sort of those foundations in place, if you're still experiencing red flags, so you still have like terrible joint pain, or you're still getting awful anxiety, or whatever it is that you're experiencing, you're still not feeling joyful, you're still feeling totally exhausted, then you can start to look at introducing some ayurvedic herbs. Now, the difference between ayurvedic herbs and other supplements or drugs, pharmaceutical medicine, is that the ayurvedic herbs are adaptogenic, and they actually work at, and they talk to our body. They're bioavailable and they're adaptogenic, which means they adapt to what our body needs. And they actually guide our body to do what it needs to do. Does that make sense? Like, it's not what can happen if we take some drugs, like for example, hormone replacement therapy. They just mark, they're like markers, and they hide the hormones. They give us a synthetic thing. What's the word? I can't even think what the word is. Anyway, you know what I mean. So they're not really balancing our body. They're just putting a band-aid on it. Like, that's in really simplistic terms. We're just putting a band-aid on it. And I know a lot of women reach for HRT, and a lot of doctors will prescribe that. And I've been talking to a lot of women about this, and my cousins and whatnot included. And it seems to be that most women that I speak to don't like the experience, that they get one good thing for a multitude of bad things, changes and different things. So the anxiety might go, but then something else pops up. So it's not really working in synergy with our body. It's just kind of hiding things and putting a band-aid on things. So I really would like to stress, like, that's something that is at a last resort, that you would sort of go down that track. I would look at, the beautiful thing about naturally balancing our hormones with all these things that we've been talking about is that we can stop the need for taking pharmaceuticals, and that can become expensive, and that can become, not so great, and we become very reliant on it mentally and emotionally as well. Our body has the power to heal itself. So if you're experiencing things like vaginal dryness or low sex drive, those sorts of things, you might have other red flags. A beautiful Ayurvedic herb to harmonize and balance the estrogen in our body. So if you're experiencing like low estrogen, is Shatavari. So Shatavari that's this herb here, and this is Orchard Street. It's a powdered form. You can get it. The powdered forms when you're taking Ayurvedic herbs are a bit better for our body because in Ayurveda, everything starts on the tongue with the taste, so we can actually taste. And I usually take my Shatavari of an afternoon in my chai, with my afternoon chai. Help my digestion, and it also is to harmonize and balance my hormones. Now, there is one thing I will point out with Shatavari is if you have a history of breast cancer in your family, steer clear of this one because it could produce too much estrogen and cause problems there. So use another herb that you can get, which is called Vidari. So Banyan Botanicals is another great Ayurvedic herb, and they do a powder of Vidari, and I'll drop the link to where you can purchase these because these are American, and it's really hard to get them in Australia. There's only a couple of places that sell them, and Amazon is really expensive. iHerb, I think you can get them, but I think it's a lot sold out and it takes ages. But there's an Australian company that stocks them, that are a certified stockist of these guys. And a lot of the Ayurvedic practitioners will recommend this brand because it's organic, it's pure, and the dosages are good. Because that's the other thing with Ayurvedic herbs, with any supplements, like you really do have to look at the dosage and the milligrams and get that right. That's why it's best to speak to somebody, a practitioner, consult somebody before you jump on in and start taking all the different herbs. But you're pretty safe if you just start with a few of the basics. Banyans also have a women's balancing mix. So this could be a really good option for this time of the year, as this season of life as well. It's a mixture of herbs. I haven't got it because they're sold out at satvik.com.au is the website that I get these at. And they've sold out. So Banyan's women's balancing mix is very good as well. And that's if you've been experiencing a year or more of symptoms. Okay, so that's if you've been experiencing a year or more of symptoms, then it might be time to reach for that. Okay, so Shatavari or Vidari, in a little bit of a warm drink or something will be enough for most women. But if you've got really red flags, then, maybe it's time to sort of chat and look at doing something a little bit different. Chasteberry for the younger women is a little bit better as well. So chasteberry for any younger women that might be having, I know that one of the ladies that has been watching the recordings emailed me, and through different things, she's sort of entering perimenopause at 38 as opposed to 48. So she's, a younger woman. So I would probably recommend, when you're watching the replay, the chasteberry would be better for her over the Shatavari or the women's blend. So that's sort of about women's specific things. Now for digestion, there is Triphala. So Triphala is great for supporting for balancing and detoxifying. So I've got the Banyan Triphala at the moment as well. I've been taking that and it's great. You just take it on an empty tummy, a couple of times a day or as needed. So that's pretty safe. That's a good one to take when you actually run a cleanse. So we'll talk about this when we do our cleanse, our Kitchery cleanse, and it can really just help move things along a bit. Okay, so Triphala is good for moving things along. Banyan also do some other digestive supplements as well. Like there's a Kapha Digest, there's a Pitta Digest, a Vata Digest. So if you're experiencing a lot of air in your tummy and in your bowels, like you're farting a lot or you're really bloated, and when you go to the toilet and you might fart before you actually excrete your waste, that's a sign of a Vata imbalance in your digestive system because you've got all that air going around in your body. If you're experiencing constipation and really, like rabbit pellets coming out, and you don't have a nice firm poo, we love to talk about poo. This is the time of the day when we talk about poo, the time of the session. You can have that, and you're feeling constipation and you're not going to the toilet once or twice a day. Like you really should be going to the toilet, doing a poo like twice a day is ideal, once or twice. So really start taking notice of what it is, you're excreting and what your poo's like. I might even put a what I'll do is with the notes today, I'll put a little graph of what your poo should look like, or what's bad, what's good. So I've got one of those cool little graphs to show you. So kapha, so remember, kapha is slow, methodical, holds things in the body. So if it's holding and you're not pooing, then you've got a bit of a kapha imbalance in your digestive system. And then pitta will show up as diarrhea, a bit of, runny poo, loose poo, going multiple, like, a couple of times a day, or you might have to go to the toilet once and you got to go, oh, shivers, I got to go again and again, like in a short period of time. That will show up as pitta because it's just too hot happening. So there is some supplements for that as well. Another thing that's really going to help aid your digestive system is a slice of ginger with a bit of salt and lemon juice before your meals. So about half an hour before your meals. That's going to really help move things along. I talked about the collagen, the hydrolyzed collagen. That's going to help with your digestive system and your gut health as well. It sort of helps things coming along. And then there's ashwagandha. So if you're feeling a bit exhausted and run down still, ashwagandha is a really, or you experience high stress levels, ashwagandha is going to be a great supplement for you. And you can buy that in the powder form and have it in a smoothie or have it in a latte as well. And then joint pain. Banyan do a joint support supplement as well, which is a really great one for osteoarthritis, any just, general joint pain and whatnot. So this is going to help the body function better and help it sort of produce, all the oils and things that it needs to. Oh, so that's a lot of information about supplements and things. And we talked a little bit about the lavender essential oil. That is absolutely beautiful to help us manage stress, calm, grounding, our womb, femininity. So that's a beautiful essential oil that you can use to add to different things. I talked yesterday, about the MetaPower blend as well that we can use for our dry body brushing. And then there's Claricalm. So Claricalm is a doTERRA blend. It comes in a roller and it is the bomb. Like, I've been using Claricalm for years. It's the women's blend, and it's going to help support your hormones. And again, essential oils are like ayurvedic herbs, and that's why we use a lot of essential oils in Ayurveda, is because they are adaptogenic as well. So that Claricalm is going to adapt to what your body needs hormonally, and it's going to really help to balance that as well. So they would be like my top 3 essential oils for our season of life, for perimenopause, and then the collagen, which is awesome. So that is all about that. Does anybody have any questions or any other things that they've used that they would like to share with everybody that they need to know about?
Edwina, do you know of any actual herbalist practitioners, Ayurvedic practitioners, like in the Newcastle, Macquarie area, or?
So there is Joe Fairley. So he's a practitioner, and he's actually one of his little boys in my boys football team. So he's actually made his own herb supplements. So he's got those. I can share that link with you. And he pretty much just sells those now. He doesn't really don't think he really does sort of, practitioner things, but he's a guy. But as far as women go, there's not really anyone in the Newcastle area that I know enough to recommend, that I know well enough to recommend. That makes sense. So you've got in Sydney, Felicia Roby. She's very good. Louise has got mine's online as well. So I actually see a practitioner through Hallie Poulet at the moment. I've been seeing her, Emily from there. And look, it's not cheap, but I'll do it just to get through, different things. And who do you see, Louise? Do you want to drop her in there? So, yeah.
And you also, was I correct in hearing yesterday that you mentioned that you have a massage therapist that does the Arab, I can never remember how it's pronounced. The
Abhyanga.
Abhyanga.
Abhyanga. I know all the words, all the different words. It's in our first language. Well, Louise does Abhyanga massaging clinic, but she's in Victoria. So
Louise is in Victoria. Move this way.
So
visit.
you need to come and do a tour in Newcastle. So Jacqueline Isles, she is embodied living Ayurveda. She's in South Australia, and you see her online. Okay, that's great to know. I love recommendations because they are good ones are hard to come by. And what I find as well, like it's what's happened also with Ayurveda as a whole is, you know, we've moved away. It's become very medicalized, like that whole medical system. It's like, do this, do that, do that. That's why it's really important that we get those foundations right first before we start to worry about adding too much stuff. So she's great. Look for her on Instagram. Yeah. I'm just going to take a little,
Edwina, going to the Bunyan botanicals that you use, and you mentioned the joint relief, I think it was called, those tablets. They also do a joint balm.
Oh, great.
You might like to look at, which is with Boswellia and Googaloo.
Oh.
And so just, you know, sesame oil, castor oil, beeswax, the Boswellia Googaloo. So, and the ashwagandha is in it as well. The amalaki, bibahataki, harataki, ginger. So all those really warming, nurturing spices. So that's beautiful if you've got aches. And it's also can be the start of arthritis too in this time of year, you know, it's life.
This life, yeah.
And then trim balm, which I find it says to pop it with the, you know, I don't know if you're sort of experiencing any stagnancy anywhere, which I can do on my tummy, which I've never, ever had before, but I'll rub that sometimes on the tummy and on the thighs a little bit. And that's just kind of helping to shift and move things along. So with the chitrak and Googaloo again, also in that sesame oil and like the other. And lastly, the beauty balm, which with shatavari and rose geranium, which is a lovely fragrance too. And of a night time, I pop it just on the chest area and the heart area, and there's some mama points that you can just do, press and breathe, and you can Google that on YouTube, mama point massage, and that's a lovely winding down. And if you're feeling a lot of stress, or even I found perimenopause, I had a lot of grief as well too, of letting go of things changing with me and with other aspects of life. And so I found that very nourishing, and with the rose in it as well, very supportive for the heart.
Beautiful.
So that's
energetically, rose geranium is the oil and the flower of love and trust and letting go. So it's perfect for that. It's really great to help lift the grief and just to trust, to learn to sort of trust the process and trust life. It's really, and it's heart opening. It's really heart opening. So it's beautiful. You can get that as an essential oil as well from doTERRA. It's absolutely divine. Thank you for that, Louise. I love all of that. I will put a link to the website where you can purchase those things from Banyan. So they're Banyan Botanicals as well, Louise, and you say, so you should be able to get those on the satvic.com.au website, the same as the things. I'll have a little look. Beautiful. Oh, okay. So I just wanted to share before we wrap up, I wanted to share that I have opened, and you would have seen in the email yesterday that I have opened up Marigold membership. Now, this is a membership that I had a little while ago that we've run as a yoga and Ayurveda membership, which was lots of fun. It was beautiful, but I closed it down there for a little bit to revision it. And I've just rebranded it and revisioned it specifically for what we've been talking about over the last few days. And I have, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so great. So we've got guest teachers and speakers coming along each month. So the lovely Louise is coming and going to be available and do a session on the Abhyanga massage and the oils. I've got the lovely Emma Worthen. She's going to do mudras. So mudras are the how we hold the hands and that sort of thing, so they can really be supportive for women going through this season of life. So she's going to talk to us about that over April. These are sort of the April-May sessions. Trudy has said that she's going to come along and do some energy healing or something. We haven't quite worked out what that's going to be yet. I'm going to be there, obviously. The first session that I'm doing is we are going to basically run a beautiful session where we're going to look at reclaiming our life and our joy. And I have an exercise to do, which is an Ayurveda score chart to see where our symptoms are actually lying. So whether Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, and then we're going to work through that chart together, and then we're going to get really specific and have some really specific support and guidance around what are the specific things that you can be doing to support your particular imbalance in perimenopause and menopause. So that's going to be a really fun session, an opening circle for the reopening circle for Marigold membership. So have a look out on the emails for all of that. It's not going to be a membership about lifting weights and eating proteins and cucumbers and all those sorts of things. It's going, because there's heaps of that information out there. Like, you've got to just scroll. What do I do in perimenopause? And it's like, eat steak, lift weights. It's all these really masculine things. It's like, oh my God. Oh my Krishna. It's like, oh, my kids are home. It's like, hang on a sec. Bang, bang, banging. So it's not about that, but it is about how to support yourself energetically and emotionally, and that really beautiful, that inner healing as well. So much more of what we've been sharing over the last few days. And I would love to have you join. Hang on a sec. I would love to have you join me in that, but check out that. And yes, we're doing a payment plan, a monthly payment plan, and there's bonuses and all sorts of things happening. So that's open until till 8 p.m. on Monday night. And then we'll close our doors and we'll have a beautiful closed container for a few months, and then we'll reopen it to another cohort, and we'll work together over a sort of a 12-month period. So it's really lovely. So thank you all so much. I will get this recording up as soon as possible, and all the notes from today. I'll go and feed my children afternoon tea, and the TV's broken in our lounge room, so I'll probably have them here in my office with me trying to get stuff done. Anyway, I better go. They're knocking. All right, thank you.